Hello there, YouTube. This is the Rogue Jam Player, and coming at you with a brand new deck. It's actually it's a redo of Spellbook Runick that I profiled quite a while back. This is just an updated list that I've kind of just been messing with as a kind of like a concept. It's part of the deck concepts list of decks that I've been kind of just putting together as a way of kind of breathing new life, because eventually we're gonna get decks that quite frankly are really good, and not to mention it helps to bring old decks up to the forefront because there's always something you can change even years down the line. So this is a Spellbook Runick. It's not a traditional 40 card variant. It's actually very hard to thin the deck down without actually killing a lot of the crucial engine pieces. Unless you try to nerf one end of the deck. So I figured, you know what, let's play. It's almost 50 cards. It's like 48, and that's just with 9 non-engines. So keep that in mind. So we're gonna start with the monsters, which is not as many as people think. The spellcaster lineup is actually pretty small. So we're gonna start with 3 copies of Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. This is the main spellcaster that you are summoning off of Judgment. Unfortunately, Jowgen has been banned as one of the cards due to Albion, the Branded Dragon, just because of the whole summon it on your opponent's board and stun lock them and stupid stuff, which is dumb, but there's not much people can really do about it. So, but the fact of the matter is that this card is absolutely crucial to have on board. You need to either use it as your normal summon, or you need to have access to it through Judgment, so that you have access to Fate, which Fate's a really good card. It's good for disruption. You can recycle it and so forth. And then when you are done with the Book Magician, we are playing 3 copies of Silent Magician, which you can summon all 3, even if you don't summon Book Magician, because we do have access to Link monsters that are spellcasters, or ways of resurrecting the Book Magician through things like Selene and things like that. So keep that in mind as well. But the fact of the matter is that Silent Magician is really good. Gains 500 attack for every card in your hand. So with the way the deck operates, you add a lot of cards. So the ability to just kind of get pieces and then just negate 1 spell a turn is absolutely amazing. You can really like kill crucial spells just for playing the deck like you normally would. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring and 3 copies of Nibiru as our non-engine monsters. They can be Mulcharmies if you have them. As a reminder, we do have Nibiru and Ash Blossom reprinted in the recent Blue Eye Structure deck, so if you don't have them, you can get them now. Now for, I have this range. We're going to start with the Spellbook related stuff, which isn't nearly as big as people think. We are going to start with the 3 Spellbook of Judgment, which is absolutely broken. Too bad that the format is really fast compared to what it was before. But the fact of the matter is that this card is absolutely amazing. You can activate this, and then you can just kind of just play whatever you need. So how Spellbook Judgment works is, for every card after this card resolves, you count the number of times you activated and resolved a spell. And then you can add spellbooks up to the number that with different up to the number of spells activated during the turn. You can add that many spellbooks from deck to hand, and then you summon a spellcaster whose level is less than or equal to the cards added. So if you add 4 books, you can summon a level 4 if you want it. In this case, as soon as you reach 2, you summon a Book Magician, because it's the only target in the main deck. If you decide to cut the Runick stuff, you can play other things. But this is one of the ways you can just make the Silent Magician really big, while also maintaining a spellcaster, because this card does not require you to control a spellcaster, which is very important for Fate. So you can use this with the Runick stuff. You can play you can do your Runick plays, and then after activating this, and still get a spellcaster on board, which I think is pretty important. We then play 3 copies of Spellbook of Secrets, which searches any spellbook card, which includes monsters and traps if there's any traps you want to play. Currently, there's only 1 named a trap, and that's because it was actually at errata to be a spellbook card, but that's not really something that we want to play in the deck. And then we have the Book Magician, because Spellbook Magician of Prophecy is also another name you can search. We then play 2 copies of Spellbook of Knowledge. You play this and you get a free draw. Draw 2. If you play, if you activate this and then Spellbook of Judgment as Chainlink 2, you can actually send the Judgment and not lose any advantage through this card, which allows you to get 2 free draws. Well, it does not allow you to count the knowledge because because Judgment has to resolve. Because Judgment has to resolve off the chain, because it's only activated spells. You've already activated the knowledge when you do it, so keep that in mind. We then play 2 copies of Spellbook of Fate. You can play 3 if you'd like, but I find that once you've gotten into the deck, you're not going to resolve it more than twice. Games don't last that long, and even then you can still recycle it. We are playing 1 copy of Spellbook of the Master, which copies secrets, which is another way of saying, hey, we can activate another spellbook that turn. We then play 1 Eternity and 1 Wisdom as a way to get books back and to protect our spellcasters. And then we're playing 1 Tower. Tower is kind of one of those cards that gives you a free draw, especially if you don't have access to your Runick stuff. You can play this turn 1, get a free draw, and then you can go into your Runick stuff if you don't already have it. You can cut this if you'd like. I'm just kind of messing with it because it's neat to have. Keep in mind for rulings on it, it does have a mistiming clause. It does have mistimings on it, especially on the draw effect, so keep that in mind. We then play, for the Runick stuff, we are playing 2 copies of Fountain, because we can only play 2 copies. Sad face, you really want to play as many as you can, because it literally says draw free cards. And also allows you to play all of your Runick spells from hand, basically. We then play 3 copies of Tip, which says, one of the cool things about all the quick play spells is they have 2 effects. They don't have, well, they all share one, which is summon a Runick from the extra deck, which is fine. But they all have additional effects, so you can do one or the other. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. But you got the stereotypical. It's a search card. We then play the 3 copies of Freezing Curses, which is an effect negation. 3 copies of Runick Destruction, which is the spell trap card. Then play 3 Flashing Fire, which deals with special summoned monsters. 3 copies of Slumber, which protects your stuff. And then we are playing 1 Smiting Storm and 1 Dispelling as names. I find that Smiting Storm is important as a card that says you can activate it whenever, because you can automatically trigger the Fountain if you need to. And then Dispelling is in here as another name as well. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence as our last card in the main deck, which is part of our non-engine. The deck is big. Unfortunately, you could probably play Grass and you probably get more out of it. The fact of the matter is that the deck really, you could probably trim down part of the engine depending on how you play it, to your preference, to cut all of some of the needless stuff if you want. Some of the Runick names you can cut, things like that. But I like playing the Runick engine the way it is, and I like Spellbooks the way it is. So I kind of have to go with what I've got. For the extra deck, we are playing 2 copies of Hugin, 2 copies of Gary, 1 Moonin, 1 Fenrir, 1 Sleipnir. These are all names. These are all cards that can do something. They just kind of just put stuff on the board, kind of punish your opponent for doing things. Not to mention, you can, when they're in the graveyard, you can do stuff with it. They float when they need to, so keep that in mind. And then Sleipnir is just kind of there. So, for kind of like the stereotypical like Link setup, we have the 1 SP Little Knight, IP Masquerena, 1 copy of Cross Sheep, 1 copy of Nightmare Cerberus, Unicorn, Griffin, along with Celine and Axis Coat Talker. These are pretty much just names. These are all things that you can play if you need it. Celine is in here because it is a spellcaster that you can access at any point. That kind of resurrects stuff. Cross Sheep is in here because you have access to stuff. Not to mention, you can occasionally just do all kinds of other weird stuff. These are just names. You can modify it as you will. So, like I said, this is kind of one of those, it can play an extra deck, but it doesn't have to. Or that this variant only plays the Runick stuff. I will be bringing a version of the deck that is more to my liking, that is probably more competitively viable, while also playing a lot more like special engine stuff and things like that. So keep tuning for that. That'll be next. So let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate, subscribe, and like I said, this is just a deck concept. This is kind of one of those, you can mess with the ratios, fine tune it if you like, but this is one of those, let's see what we can do with it. Maybe you can add, you know, Witchcrafters or something like that, because I know that, you know, Runick is known for having synchro-based stuff, link-based stuff, and things like that, so there's always options. So let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.